Online fitness content can be intense. A lot of otherworldly physiques and no excuses attitudes, and if you're trans, you know it's not that simple. If you want to get into exercise but feel overwhelmed, dysphoric, or don't know where to start, here's my guide. Of course, there is no one way a body should look, but exercise has helped me feel confident, healthy, and much more at home in my own body. And we should all have an opportunity to feel like that. I'm no doctor, but I am a PT, and this is all based on basic training principles, my own experience, and the experiences of other trans men at different stages. Part 1. Too scared to start. If you have no reservations about fitness and you want to skip to the Jimmy bits, you can skip to this timestamp. The most common factors I hear from trans guys who want to start exercise but haven't done it yet are these 3 things: dysphoria, fear of the gym, and cluelessness. Dysphoria. If parts of your body make you feel uncomfortable while exercising, the good news is that exercise, which targets those parts of the body to build muscle around them, can actually help in alleviating some of that dysphoria. Plus, according to the doctor who did my top surgery, my chest workouts in the lead-up were actually helpful for him in mapping out the contour of how my chest should look naturally, as well as providing more tissue to sculpt. That's the motivation, but it may not make it actually feel any better while you're doing the hard work. The little thing that can help is wearing oversized or obscuring clothing, such as hoodies. Cis men do this often anyways, they call it a pump cover. The big thing that can help is centering your fitness goals, not around aesthetics, but around progression. And we'll talk a bit more about that later. Fear of the gym. It is generally great advice that no one is looking at or judging you more than yourself, and this applies to the gym too. However, I know that hearing that won't immediately quell reservation. Of course, you can simply work out at home and get great results from it. However, in my experience, gym goers are very friendly. If they see someone working out who clearly doesn't know what they're doing, gym goers are far more likely to help you than judge you. And in my own experience, the biggest looking guys are often the friendliest. Besides, if you start with the machines, they all have little drawings on them that tell you exactly how to use the machine. You can start with really light weights and go from there. Changing rooms and mirrors can be a scary prospect, but even before I had top surgery, I would change in the men's room, bind it out, and no one cared. Most people don't know what that is. If you're relatively early in physical transition, or you just don't want to be seen, almost all changing rooms have toilets, so change in one of those. Finally, most gyms will have an app and a section on that app which can tell you how many people are in the gym at any given time, as well as projected busy hours, so you can try and go at the quietest times. But personally, I love to work out in the park. Makes me feel very free. Finally, cluelessness. That sounds like a good segue into the next bit. Part 2, before you start. First, let's get some things clear. You don't need to be on testosterone to train effectively. Although testosterone does help build strength and muscle faster, both are absolutely trainable regardless of hormones. Consistency is key. Aim to start by training at least 3 times a week. This will allow you to build up a good foundation throughout all of the muscle groups, all while still allowing adequate rest periods for the muscles between sessions. Progress is not linear. You will go forwards and backwards, but stay consistent in your training. Don't rush. The rest and recovery of your muscles is just as important as the work being put in, and overloading too quickly puts you at risk of injury. Don't just copy cis male routines straight away. Even if you're strong and your muscles may be ready for a certain weight, your joints might not be as ready. There is no reason not to train with gradual intensity, so ignore the no excuses content. Sometimes there are actually good reasons not to do something exercise related, and it's certainly not a race. And on that note, always warm up before exercise, always cool down after. But most importantly, if you have any pre-existing conditions or injuries which may affect your training, consult your doctor or physiotherapist before taking part in any exercise. That is a must. And please don't train in a tight binder. That's not safe. Part 3. How to start. Upper body for Dorito shape. This is where the bulk of your initial aesthetic masculinization will happen. For that V shape, you'll really want to broaden your back and shoulders, which are your lats and your delts and anatomical terms. Testosterone helps with this to an extent, but so does exercise. For weights, you would want to use the lat pull-down machine, perform overhead presses and lateral raises to achieve this look. However, for me personally, pull-ups were the game changer. Pull-ups using just my own body weight and increasing the max number I could do in one go allowed me to significantly broaden my back and shoulders without any weight training at the time or within a few months. Most people start not being able to do a pull-up at all. So, as with every exercise, you should progress into it. What is a progression? A progression Progression is a modified version of an exercise, for example, an easier version, with the purpose of gradually training you up to harder versions. For example, for pull-ups, you can start with body rows. That's an easier progression. Then get onto the bar, get used to just hanging. Then you'd move on to shoulder shrugs. Then use resistance bands to take some weight off you. Progressions fall under the key principle of strength and muscle training in Not Another Siren. Progressions fall under the key principle of strength and muscle training in general, which is progressive overload. Progressive overload just means gradually asking your body to do a little more over time so it has a reason to adapt and get stronger. This can look like gradually increasing the weight that you lift, the number of times you lift it, resting less between sets, and so on. For example, once pull-ups become easy, add some weight to continue facilitating the overload. Back to the upper body workout, you'll need to train your chest and arms too. That's your pecs and your biceps and triceps. For the chest, if it's weights, you'll want bench press variations, and for bodyweight exercises, you'll want push-up variations. Once again, you pick a progression that suits you where you're at, and then you progress gradually to harder variations. For the arms, you can do lots of things, but the foundations are bicep curls and tricep dips or extensions. Lower body and core. Don't skip this. I started with just upper body because that was my priority while I was still learning how to do things. I didn't actually end up with much chicken leg because my button thighs were already massive thanks to estrogen, but many do end up with chicken legs from not training legs. Most importantly though, the truth is that squats engage a lot more than just your legs. You should do them. Training your glutes helps with posture and stability, prevents back and knee pain, and weighted squats get your core involved too. They can help you build a lot of muscle, and if you're a little guy like me, and a lot of us trans guys are, you actually have some advantage in having a shorter distance to travel down and up. For your lower back, start by first looking at videos on correct deadlift form. To be fair, I'd recommend that for most exercises. Looking up form videos is very useful for learning new exercises, but especially for deadlifts, as the lower back does not play when it comes to form. Then you can start with an empty barbell, no weights on it, just to make sure that you can execute the movement with no discomfort. Then begin to progress with weight gradually, adding around 2.5 kg or 5 to 10 pounds per week. Again, better safe than sorry with your progression. Training your core properly, that's basically your abs and a bit more, will help you in all areas of strength-based exercise. I personally recommend hanging leg raises, progress to toes to bar, hollow body holds, and the ab wheel. God, the ab wheel. Cardio. You may say, I want to get big muscles. Won't cardio make me lose that? The answer is not necessarily. For the sake of your heart health and your endurance, you really ought to do cardio. I do it for 10 minutes as my warm-up before each training session. If running on a treadmill causes you dysphoria, you can try incline walking, the rowing machine, the cross trainer, the bike, or short circuits of high-intensity exercise. Personally, I love skipping. It induces a childlike joy. As long as you're also paying attention to your diet, eating sufficiently, and overloading appropriately in the gym, cardio won't shrink you. Splitting the days. So I've told you to aim for 3 days a week. How should they look? You can find a million sample exercise plans online for building muscle, but generally they will either split the workouts into muscle groups or push-pull days. A muscle group split, what some people sometimes refer to as a bro split, could look like Monday, chest and triceps, Wednesday, back and biceps, Friday, shoulders and legs. A push-pull split could be Monday push, Wednesday pull, Friday legs. However you decide to split the days, choose exercises you like doing the most which cover each of the main muscle groups and you're rolling. I'll put my beginner one on screen now if you want to screenshot and try it. It's just a couple of ideas. Principles to bear in mind. The process of muscle growth is called hypertrophy. It happens when your muscle fibers tear during training and repair themselves after training. To train hypertrophy or muscle growth, the generally accepted ranges are 3 to 5 sets of 8 to 10 reps. To clarify, that is 8 to 10 repetitions of a movement, then a rest period of 1 to 2 minutes. This process is one set, so you would do this 3 to 5 times, or for 3 to 5 sets. Ideally, you want to reach failure towards the end of each set. And that's another principle to bear in mind. In strength training, failure is good. It means you successfully push the muscle to its limit. So don't be afraid to up the weight if you're completing sets too easily. One last principle to know is time under tension. Similarly to completing sets too easily, it is far better to increase the amount of time that your muscles are engaged for than it is to slam out reps as fast as you can. Your muscles will benefit more from practicing slow and controlled movements. Part 4. Progress. Perhaps you've already been training for a few months now, and you feel like nothing's happening. It took a long while for things to click in place for me. Personally, that day never came while I was doing weights. It actually came the moment I started training calisthenics, or advanced bodyweight training. My ultimate advice for anyone is actually to stop thinking about results for a second and find the kind of exercise that is actually fun for you, then expand from there. I started with weights and I kept losing motivation because it wasn't interesting to me at the time. I found calisthenics, which involved training towards cool skills, almost gamifying the process. The more little moves I achieved, the more my motivation grew. And at not one point during that training was I thinking about aesthetic results. They came as a byproduct of all the fun I was having. But once you start seeing real improvement, that's where the motivation kicks in. So you gotta hold out till then. So in general, track your strength and your progression, not just your looks. Allow your fitness to support your transition, not be the central focus of it. Part 5. Conclusion. I spent a whole lot of time here talking about the ideal ways to train for the potential results that you may want, and I welcome you to try your best to commit yourself to the routine for as long as you can. You are very likely to see results after a few months, and it may be very helpful for your body and for your comfort within yourself. However, and I cannot stress this enough, fitness can and should be fun, and that doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. Do not feel bad if one method turns out not to be for you. If you do not enjoy your training, you are much less likely to stick with it, and you must ask yourself what suppressing your enjoyment for results looks like in real life and in the long term. Online content will tell you, no matter what it is that you're doing, that you're missing out on huge gains or you're training wrong. The reality is you can and should train in a way that you enjoy, even if it won't get you the fastest results, because fast results do not equal long-term behavioral change, and as we mentioned, consistency is key. Fast should not be the point. The point, in my opinion, should be your overall health, which includes your happiness. That's really important. That way you'll stick with it longer and enjoy the process more. What you find fun might be weights, it might be calisthenics, or swimming, or yoga, or Pilates, or pole, or rock climbing, or dancing, or skipping, or skating. But if you can hold out for long enough and find that one thing that really hooks you in enough to see results, it opens the doors to finding new motivation for all kinds of exercises that you might not have ever felt motivated to engage with beforehand. Even though I wasn't interested in weights at first, and calisthenics was what actually got me hooked into exercise, I now love doing weights to supplement it. It became fun because my main form of exercise gave me a different outlook on fitness altogether. So, be kind to yourself, give every new endeavor your best shot, and have fun.